The cameras flashed. The crowd froze. And just like that, Hollywood had a new obsession.
Oh, it was a completely surreal moment.
It really was. We were talking about the explosive headline, how Gayle King found out her husband was having an affair with her own friend.
Yeah, that is a title that just grabs you and refuses to let go.
Welcome to Starscope Report. Join Jordan and Jamie as they uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals. From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
And if you are loving these Hollywood twists, make sure you are subscribed. We have got even crazier stories ahead.
We really do. So, for today's deep dive, we are pulling from a massive stack of sources. We've got entertainment news articles, celebrity profiles, and some really fascinating recent interview transcripts.
Right, like her extremely candid appearance on the Call Her Daddy podcast. And we are also looking at a statement that her ex-husband, William Bumpus, actually issued to TMZ.
Which is wild because this happened decades ago. But our mission today isn't just about celebrity gossip. We're exploring the psychology of intuition, the mechanics of gaslighting, and how owning your narrative, even 30 years later, can lead to some really unexpected closures.
It is such a layered story, and to really understand it, you have to look at the psychological setup before the actual confrontation.
Exactly, because Gayle wasn't looking for a reason to be suspicious. She's been very clear that she had, absolutely no idea her marriage was falling apart.
Right, she wasn't playing detective. She felt secure.
Yeah, she said she was happy. I mean, they had normal marital arguments, but she never thought the relationship was in such disrepair that he was, as she hilariously put it, boinking around.
Boinking around. Yeah, that baseline of trust is essential to understand everything that follows. But then this incredibly tiny micro-interaction occurs that completely disrupts her internal equilibrium.
A moment so subtle that a bystander wouldn't have noticed it at all. She is just hanging out with her husband, William, and her close friend.
A friend who she refers to as Casey in the interviews, just to protect her identity.
Right, so Casey says something entirely mundane. She just looks at William and says, "Nice shot, Bill."
But it wasn't the syntax, it was the tone. Gayle noted this undeniable intimacy in the way Casey said it.
And Gayle described this profound physical reaction, the hair standing up on the back of her neck. She thought she caught them exchanging a certain look, and suddenly her body is just flooded with alarm.
Which is so common, but we rarely stop to analyze it. It is what psychologists call somatic memory.
It totally makes me think of a smoke detector. It's like we have this internal sensor calibrated to pick up invisible microscopic particles in the air long before you can actually see the flames or, smell the smoke.
That is a perfect analogy. Our brains are basically predictive machines. When we are deeply bonded with a partner, our brain maps their baseline behaviors perfectly.
Right, like their cadence, their eye contact, the exact distance they normally stand from someone.
Exactly. So when they deviate from that baseline, even by a fraction of a millimeter in their vocal inflection, your amygdala triggers a visceral response. Your conscious mind hasn't processed the betrayal yet, but your body knows. The body keeps an accurate ledger.
But the conscious mind immediately tries to rationalize that alarm away. And William, unfortunately, actively exploited that.
He really did.
When Gayle asked him about the strange tension she was feeling between him and Casey, he told her she was just overreacting.
Which is the first stage of gaslighting. If you can convince someone that their internal threat detection system is broken, well, you can control their reality.
But you can only suppress that somatic response for so long before physical evidence breaks the illusion. And that evidence arrived in 1990.
Oh, the sequence of events is just cinematic. It is so tense.
It really is. So Gayle was traveling with her two young kids, Kirby and William Jr., and her flight gets delayed or canceled, and she ends up heading home much earlier than expected.
And remember, this is 1990. There are no cell phones.
Right, she can't just text him a warning that she's on her way. She just arrives unannounced.
And this is where the clues move from the subconscious to the undeniable. She gets to her house, and the security alarm is set in the middle of the day.
Which she immediately clocks as bizarre. She's thinking, you're a big grown-ass man, he never sets the alarm.
Yeah, that is a huge red flag.
So she gets inside, and William comes flying out of a room wearing only a towel, literally blocking her path and telling her she can't come in.
You can physically feel the panic in that moment, just the sheer chaos.
But she bypasses him, searches the house, and she finds her friend Casey, the same friend whose kids played with Gayle's kids.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Casey is cowering behind a door wearing one of Gayle's expensive towels. And what blew my mind is Gayle's immediate verbal reaction. It wasn't even directed at the husband.
Right. She looked at the friend.
Yes, she looked at this woman and screamed, "I thought we were friends."
It is the ultimate shattering of reality because it is a double betrayal. It is not just the partner you trust, but your social safety net, too. Both pillars of her emotional support structure collapsed at the exact same time.
And that's not even the wildest part. The psychological whiplash of William's immediate reaction is staggering because he didn't drop to his knees and beg for forgiveness.
No, he didn't. His flight response kicks in entirely.
Wait, let me get this straight for everyone listening. He didn't just cheat. He left his wife standing in the wreckage of their marriage so he could play chauffeur for his mistress.
He actually drove the friend to the train station while Gayle was left standing in the house alone.
That level of compartmentalization is terrifying to me.
It is a textbook example of how panic destroys logic. In that moment of crisis, his priority was managing the affair partner's exit strategy, not his wife's emotional devastation.
So sitting alone in that house, she reaches out to her remaining support system. She calls her best friend, Oprah Winfrey.
And Oprah's response is incredibly revealing.
It is. Gayle tells her the whole story, including the jaw-dropping detail about the train station. And Oprah says, "Let me get this straight. He left you there alone and went with her. Oh, girl, you don't even know how bad this is."
Yeah.
And then Oprah gives her a very specific directive. She tells her, call her husband.
Which is brilliant tactical advice. In the midst of emotional devastation, a victim can easily shrink. But Oprah instantly identifies the power dynamics. She knows this affair partner needs to face accountability in her own home immediately.
Before she has time to construct a defense.
Exactly. But Casey already had a head start.
Yeah, 2 hours pass before Gayle gathers herself and makes the call to Casey's husband. But when she gets him on the line, she walks right into a second, much larger wall of gaslighting.
Because the friend had already gotten home and preemptively spun the story to protect her own sanctuary.
She told her husband that Gayle came home early, got confused, and drew the wrong conclusion from an innocent situation.
Just completely rewriting reality.
So the husband gets on the phone with Gayle, who, let's remember, saw this with her own eyes. And he tells her, "You are delusional and out of touch with reality, and I suggest you get some help."
That is breathtakingly cruel. And it perfectly illustrates the mechanics of collective gaslighting. The goal is to create this thick cognitive fog where the victim can no longer trust their own senses.
It's designed to make you collapse inward. But Gayle doesn't collapse.
No, she fights back.
When he calls her delusional, the sadness morphs into anger. She retaliates with cold, hard facts. She proceeds to describe, in exacting detail, what his wife was wearing.
The specifics are everything here.
Right. She describes the pink satin pajama top. She describes the green panties. She describes the exact state of the bed they were in. And then she just hangs up.
And that is exactly how you defeat the cognitive fog. In psychology, this is known as sensory anchoring.
Sensory anchoring. I love that term.
Yeah, when someone is actively trying to distort your reality, abstract arguments will fail. They'll just deny your interpretation. But holding on to highly specific, undeniable sensory details, the exact color of the panties, the fabric of the pajamas, is how you tether yourself to the truth.
You cannot gaslight away a pink satin pajama top.
Exactly. It forces the enabler to confront the physical reality of the betrayal.
Now, you would think finding your husband and your friend in your home would be the immediate end of the marriage. But because they had 2 young kids, they actually tried to work through it.
Which is very common, trying to keep the family together.
Yeah, they didn't officially divorce until 1993, after Gayle discovered William had cheated a second time. And this is where the private pain morphs into a massive public liability.
Largely due to the culture of the 1990s tabloid media.
Exactly. During the divorce, Gayle was leaning heavily on Oprah for emotional support. And the tabloid culture, which is incredibly predatory and homophobic back then, decided to weaponize that female friendship.
The National Enquirer published these huge rumors, claiming that the real reason for Gayle's divorce was that she and Oprah were secretly gay and in a relationship.
And Gayle is recently divorced, trying to rebuild her life. And she noted that she couldn't even get a Saturday night date because the public believed she was a lesbian.
Which is so frustrating. And this led to a massive disagreement between her and Oprah about public relations strategy.
Right. Gayle wanted to kill the rumor aggressively. She told Oprah, "You've got to say something on your show." She wanted to go on the offensive.
Which is a completely natural human reaction when your reputation is being distorted. You want to scream the truth from the rooftops. But Oprah gave the exact opposite advice.
She told Gayle to just leave it alone. And I have to push back on Oprah's advice here, because it feels incredibly counterintuitive.
It does feel wrong in the moment, yeah.
When a false narrative is actively harming your personal life, and you have the biggest megaphone in the world, why on earth would you just sit in silence? It feels like if you don't fight it, you're letting the lie become the truth by default.
I get that. It feels that way. But Oprah was operating on a deep understanding of media power dynamics. To deny a frame is to invoke a frame.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, if Oprah had dedicated a segment of her massively popular show to denying the rumor, millions of people who had never even read the National Enquirer would suddenly be associating the two of them with the rumor.
Wow, yeah, I didn't think of it that way.
Oprah recognized that engaging with a bad faith narrative legitimizes its premise. By starving it of oxygen, you protect your own long-term peace, even if it causes intense short-term frustration.
But you can absolutely empathize with Gayle's anger. I mean, she felt like she was suffering the immediate social consequences of a lie, while her friend wasn't feeling the same sting in the dating world.
It is a heavy burden to carry a public lie on top of a private betrayal.
It really is. Stay tuned and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next, because later in the episode, we'll talk about the shocking twist nobody saw coming.
Time has this fascinating way of leveling the playing field. Because over 30 years pass from that terrible day in 1990, and the modern media landscape finally forces a moment of public accountability.
Gayle shares this story on a massive platform. It goes viral, and suddenly, William Bumpus, who has guarded his privacy fiercely for decades, issues a public apology through TMZ.
After 30 years.
Right. But wait, is a PR statement issued to TMZ 3 decades later really a sign of growth? Or is it just damage control because Gayle's story went viral and he didn't want to be canceled by the internet? Why should we give him a pass now?
That skepticism is entirely warranted. When a public figure apologizes only after getting caught in the viral spotlight, we should always question the motive.
Yeah.
However, if we look at the structural mechanics of his statement, it is very different from a standard PR non-apology.
How so? Like, what makes it different?
Well, in a typical damage control statement, you see evasive language. I'm sorry if anyone was offended or mistakes were made. They rely on the passive voice to distance themselves from the action.
Right, the classic non-apology.
Exactly. But William didn't do that. He said, "Those actions were mine." He claimed total active ownership of the betrayal. Furthermore, he acknowledged the generational impact.
Yeah, he apologized to Gayle, to their daughter Kirby and her husband, to their son William and his wife, and to their 3 grandchildren.
He explicitly named the family tree that his actions fractured.
That generational acknowledgement is really powerful. It recognizes that infidelity doesn't just happen between 2 people. The collateral damage ripples outward through decades.
And it's important that we look at the full scope of William's life since 1990, because his side of the growth is present in this story too.
In his statement, he actually praises Gayle for supporting him through his law degree at Yale. He credits her for committing to successfully co-parenting their children from the very beginning.
And he has spent the last several decades striving to build a life of genuine substance. He is an accomplished attorney who represents the Department of Children and Families in child abuse and neglect cases.
Wow, that is incredibly heavy, vital work.
It is. He handles cases regarding the termination of parental rights. So the cowardice he showed in 1990 does not define the entirety of his life's work.
And despite the horrific way the marriage ended, they have managed to forge a remarkably solid relationship today. William mentioned that Gayle recently reached out to wish his teenage daughter, Poet, from a subsequent relationship, a happy sweet 16.
That takes a massive amount of grace on Gayle's part.
It really does.
It shows a level of emotional maturity that can only be built over time. It proves that forgiveness and strong boundaries can coexist perfectly.
But the contrast between who they were then and who they are now is just wild. Back during the messy parts of the divorce, William reportedly said, "I'll be glad when this Gayle King's is over."
Oh, man.
Yeah, he couldn't handle the spotlight or her rising star. But Gayle realized that was his insecurity, not her flaw. She realized she wanted someone who fully embraces the Gayle King
Yeah, I love that. She refused to make herself smaller to make a partner comfortable.
Exactly. She learned that a partner's inability to handle her light doesn't mean she needs to dim it. And look at her now. She's single. She just signed a massive new contract with CBS, reportedly worth upwards of $15 million. She's acting on Broadway, and she is perfectly clear on what she wants in her life.
She wants a partner with humor, intelligence, and absolutely no smoking.
That is a hard deal breaker for her.
Oh.
And hilariously, she noted she wants a man with Natural teeth.
Natural teeth. She knows exactly what her boundaries are. And for you, the listener, I think what this deep dive illustrates is the complex architecture of healing.
Yeah, we often crave narratives with pure heroes and pure villains, where the bad guy is banished and never grows.
But this story shows that people can do incredibly cowardly things, like abandoning your wife to drive your affair partner to the train, but they can still evolve into people who dedicate their lives to protecting abused children.
It shows that you can attend your grandchild's christening and find genuine peace with the very person who shattered your reality 30 years ago.
So when we step back and look at the entirety of this story, a few profound truths emerge. First, the absolute necessity of trusting your somatic memory.
Right. Your body registers threats long before your mind is ready to accept them.
Second, the vital importance of having a rock-solid support system that will tell you to call the husband and demand accountability when the world is trying to gaslight you.
And finally, the power of sensory anchoring to tether yourself to reality when people are trying to drown you in a cognitive fog.
This raises a deeply complex question, though, one that I want to leave our listeners pondering. We live in an era where every personal wound, every private trauma can be transformed into public content.
That is undeniably true today.
So how does broadcasting a decades-old trauma change its impact on the people who lived it? Do we owe the people who betrayed us in the past a statute of limitations on their mistakes? Or is our lived experience always ours to tell, no matter how many years have passed and no matter how much the other person has changed?
That is a fascinating ethical line to walk, because the sanctuary was breached, and even if the house has been rebuilt, the story of the fire still belongs to the person who survived it.
Beautifully said.
You've been listening to Starscope Report, where Jordan and Jamie uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining. Until next time, keep trusting your body's signals.